Hello everyone. Welcome to a book review for the first two books in the Loremasters of Elundium series by Mike Jeffries. They're a fantasy series, sort of a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, Narnia. Pretty generic fantasy. Big evil, warriors are good, fighting to stop them. An ancient evil returns. You've heard it all before. So I think I'm going to go through these one by one, starting from the first one, Road to Underfall. I think if you really want to get the too long didn't watch for this video, it's this one, pretty good. This one, not so good. And I think there's such a fall off between the two that I'm not going to read the third. I just don't care. It was interesting enough that I wanted to pick up that second one and see what happened. And then after that first maybe like 5 chapters, it just was like a straight downhill. It really suffered in terms of pacing, story, everything. It was not good. It was just not good. Read the first one. It's okay. It's a good airplane book. Second one, if you really like the first one, maybe pick it up. Otherwise, skip it. Honestly, you're not missing much. So let's get into it with Road to Underfall. This follows a sort of fantasy land called Elundium, where there is a master of magic named Nevian. He is your Gandalf character, and he's leading the last Granite King into battle against Master of Darkness of Shadows or something like that, named Cruel Shards. It's Sauron and the elves and everything from the beginning of Lord of the Rings. It's that, basically. The last Granite King, he's supposed to kill Cruel Shards, but the last second he slips away into his City of Darkness, which is not really well defined or explained what it is. He has a City of Darkness in a mountain. As he's losing the battle, he escapes into there, and the last Granite King is too scared of the dark to follow him. And then after this battle, it's Nevian explaining to King Holbein, the last Granite King, the savior of the world basically is going to come along, and it's up to him to do what he couldn't, that sort of thing. We sort of jump forward an indiscriminate amount of years. It's got to be decades, because there's at least a generation or two passes. King Holbein is king of the land. The darkness has been defeated, and he's sort of slipped into a kingly role, but has lost a lot of his influence and power to his chancellors, like his advisors and things like that, who are a corrupting force. From there, we jump to this character named Thane, who's a young teenager. He's in school, in the learning hall. He's the Candleman's son, who is this position that lights candles for the king to keep away the darkness, basically. And he sort of he's the chosen one. Put simply, he goes through trials and tribulations and is basically tasked by the king to go to Underfall, which is sort of right at the mouth of the City of Darkness where Cruel Shards escaped into. And I guess they fight night beasts, which are the evil mooks, the orcs, the goblins, that sort of thing. They're called night beasts. So the first book basically follows his, not necessarily coming of age, but of growth as he goes on this journey to Underfall, pretty much where King Holbein failed before. Thane is going to succeed and follow Cruel Shards into the City of Night. That's a very basic plot. There's characters, kind of. There's a lot of horse imagery, which it's not like a Black Beauty, but it's noticeable to the point where for a while, maybe about halfway through this book, I was thinking, is Mike Jeffries a horse guy? Does he like horses a lot? I don't know. I never really got a satisfying answer based on sort of the second book. Maybe not. And he just found it very easy to write about flowing manes and horses sweating a lot. I don't know if horses sweat. I assume they do. It's a journey. It's a point A to point B type story. There's issues and growth and loss and gain all along the way. He meets sort of the now much older generation of warriors that fought in that original battle with King Holbein, and they're all old men now, and sort of it's a passing of the torch to him, and they pretty much recognize, oh, this kid's he's special. It's okay. I think there's some very, very good passages as I don't know what the word is, but as very descriptive, very evocative. They really paint a good picture in your mind, and it's a lot of these it's a lot of horse imagery, weirdly enough. I never really read a Black Beauty or any of the horse books, but I understand. I kind of get it now, It's fine. It's generic. If I were to give it a rating, I don't know, 6, 7 out of 10. It's not great. It's not bad. It does what it needs to. It tells a good enough story. If you go into a beach, if you're going to go on a vacation, pick it up. It's an easy read. I mean, it's 350 pages, a little more than that. 370. But, I mean, it flies by. I think I don't know. It kind of gave me the feeling of reading as a kid again, where you're just consuming a book and it's going a lot quicker than it seems to be for the page count. Maybe that's just me. I was pretty invested. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think the one a couple criticisms I have is Mike Jeffries, and I think this is really apparent in the second one, but he does a very poor job of establishing not so much the world, but describing the layout and the geography of this world. And he uses a lot of words that are fantasy words for a normal thing, but aren't explained. And it's hard to understand what he means and what sort of picture this in your mind. At least it was for me. So he uses the word greenway a lot. All along the greenway, he traveled across the greenway. And you can kind of figure it out. It's a grass field, space between the edge of a forest and a mountain, that patch of just grass or low cut vegetation is what I assume. It's never really explained, but by the end of the second book, I was just use normal words. Just say a field. I can picture a field, and there's also not a lot of descriptions of things in very weird ways, jumping ahead, I guess. The Granite Kings, I thought that was just, they come from the mountains or something like that, and that's why they're called the Granite Kings. Or it's just, the fantasy name for this kind of special king. But no, they're golems, basically. Humanized golems. And we learn that basically right at the end of the second book, and it's wow, that would have been... Maybe I missed it. There's things like that where you don't have... It's very hard to paint a mental picture in your head of, I don't know, what's... Not necessarily even what's happening, but what things look like. There's one scene where Thane and some marchers are coming after the Way House. Oh, okay, that's a good example. The first place he comes to on his journey is a Way House. What is a Way House? I would think, a house... Maybe a kind of little farmstead type place in the middle of a field along the road that you'd sort of like an inn, a tavern, an inn. I don't think that's really what it is. It feels like a mansion. And it's just not described in any sort of way that gives you a clear picture of what this place is. The picture of I have it in my head now after reading 2 books is basically an old-timey hotel, for lack of a better word, but the lobby and maybe that first stairs towards some rooms. And it's a 2-story building with 10 rooms or something like that. Basically, a mansion. I don't know. Maybe this is just me and being ignorant to fantasy terms, fantasy things. I don't know. But it seems like there's an assumption that Mike Jeffrey makes that you're going to understand and know what these things are, and it's frustrating, and it hurts the book overall, I think, insofar as that you don't ever have a good understanding of where things are in relation to each other, what things really look like. Like Cruel Shards, the main villain, is not described until maybe like it's pieced in. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like you get like little drip feeds of descriptions and sort of, oh god, I don't even know, like little descriptors and details sprinkled throughout as he's does things, and it's like, okay, that's fine, but this is the main. I should have. It's hard for me to picture him doing these things when I don't have a picture of what he is, or like what a night beast is, because like sometimes they're described as like scaly, and other times they're just sort of beasts. I have no clue what a night beast looks like, except for they have like red eyes, fangs, and claws. So maybe like a werewolf type of thing, but they don't have fur. The description is very poor, just overall. And specifically location, character, and geographical description is very, very poor. So I have no clue what this journey looks like. In my head, you have the Granite City, which I can't remember the name of right now. You have Underfall, and he has to go between the two. And as far as I can tell, it's a straight line. And there's just stuff in between. And it's almost disengaging. And it's not so much apparent in the first book, but it becomes very apparent in the second one when they go to different places besides those two. And they go between them. It's a mess. It's a bit of a mess. But this first book, it's very clearly an idea, a story that he had sort of been thinking about and been fleshing out in his head, and then he put it into a book. And it feels like it was either going to be a very long book that would encompass basically both of these, or there was like maybe 100 extra pages for this, and then an editor or someone came along and said, hey, why don't you chop that last little bit off and make a second book out of it? And he was like, okay, sure. You think it's good enough to make a series? And he's like, oh yeah. Yeah. So it feels like a story that was pretty clearly had the end, maybe not sliced off, but sort of partitioned away from the rest, and spun out into a series without really having the legs or, I don't know, the depth to carry it into a second book. And if I had to guess, I'd probably assume the third one's probably the same. I'd need to look at the publishing dates of the third, because this came out in, I think, 1983. This one came out a year later. It feels like this came out a year later in terms of the quality. Yeah. So that is Road to Underfall. It's an okay book. It's an okay fantasy. It feels a lot like YA, but like an older YA, sort of maybe something you'd read in middle school, early high school, and you could be like, wow, that was really cool. Enough adult or mature themes to entice you, but as an adult reading it, it's nothing special. So that is Road to Underfall. And now we move on to The Palace of Kings. Oh, I'm going to need a drink of coffee before I start this one. That's good stuff. Palace of Kings, second book in the Loremasters of Elundium series. It is disappointing. And it is, I don't know how to, I can't think of a good comparison that would sort of explain my feelings in a nice little nutshell. It's a book that feels like it's responding to feedback of the first one, but was written before the first one came out. So it's like there was an idea for this long story, and then this first book releases, some reviews come in, some feedback is given of, oh hey, this is a little tame. Why don't we give it a little more edge? And then as a result of that, some things were tweaked, some things were rewritten. Tonally, it shifts from generic sort of YA almost fantasy to incredibly brutal, dark, violent fantasy, and it's like that. I cannot describe the whiplash this book gave me reading it, and it's crazy. I think I would, if I were to reread the series, reread these two books, I don't think I would read this one again. And it's a shame because, like, I feel like the last third of this book is really, it's fun. It's really fun once it gets to that sort of end. And it feels like that last third was supposed to be the end of this book. And it was just sort of cut off, and a bunch of filler was placed in between with some hooks for a third book. It's frustrating. It's a book that for half of it, basically nothing happens. It's just characters talking to each other. It starts here, and you sort of like, oh, pretty good, and then the sort of storyline from the first book ends. And then it's whoom, pretty quick downhill, and then it builds back up again. Let's get into it. And I think a lot of the issues that I was having, to sort of sum it up, a lot of the issues I was having with the first book became very pronounced here. And it was a shame, because up until this point I was enjoying the book. Spoilers for this book before I get into it. And also, I guess, spoilers for the first one. Although that one's kind of already spoiled if you're this far into the video. So the first book, Thane, he reaches Underfall, and he leads an army. That's the army that the soldiers that are there, basically, in a battle along with the forces of nature. Oh, I guess I had skipped over that part. There's a lot of nature imagery. Sort of, that's a big thing, is the harmony, or the, I don't know what you call it, the collaboration between man and nature. And at the end of the battle with Cruel Shards and King Holbein, Nevian, the master of magic, he breaks the bonds between the horses, the border runners, which are dogs, and the battle owls. So they had all been working together in this battle. After that's over, he breaks their bonds, I guess, so they're all individualized now. But as this book goes on, Thane, he sort of garners the favor and is sort of chosen as the liaison between these different animal groups, I guess. So his horse is the son of the master of war horses, who's like the horse, basically, the horse king. He has an owl that he sort of picks up as a friend. As he travels, he makes friends with the border runners, the dogs, and they sort of watch after him and help him. So that's sort of a theme, is like becoming more in line with nature. Anyways, Cruel Shards lives in this big mountain, underneath this big mountain. He sort of is mustering his army to break forth onto the world. He'd already sent out some like smaller scouting parties and some forces into the world previously. I think it's not really well defined. So Thane leads this army from Underfall up to there. They fight this big battle. It's this climactic battle against, good and evil. It's the soldiers from Underfall, the war horses show up, the battle owls show up, the border runners show up. There's archers. They're fighting, they're killing, they're fighting the night beasts, and Cruel Shards is forced back to retreat. He's made to retreat, basically. And this book ends right as Thane's about to go chase after him into the City of Night, and he's sort of reaching up for his grandfather's sword, which has been carried by some owl, which I can't remember the name of, but I think it's his grandfather's owl. And you come to find out his grandfather has been held captive in the City of Night for years at this point, and he was thought dead. So he's sort of reaching up as Cruel Shards is looking out from the Gate of Night. This book kicks off right at the end of that first book and finishes that battle. Thane pursues Cruel Shards into the City of Night. He is accompanied by an archer friend, Kjot, and the people who lived in the City of Night and were like slaves of the night beasts. They're basically dwarves. His name's Willow. So they're pursuing him, and they come across his grandfather. His grandfather's been like mortally wounded, basically. And so Thane has the choice of pursuing the bad guy or saving his grandfather, who he loves very much. And he decides to save his grandfather and come back out. And that's where the downfall starts. Also, a part of this is during this book, he met a girl. They fell in fantasy love, which means they had 5 conversations, and now they just look at each other and blush. This girl had given him a token of her love, which is a little bowl with an inscription on it, and he carried it into battle. During his battle to free his grandfather inside the City of Night, this bowl gets stolen by sort of his little nemesis that he's acquired, who's a Captain Night Beast, basically, and is delivered to Cruel Shards. And so Cruel Shards escapes through a different spot in the mountain and is now on a path of revenge against Thane for spoiling his plans, basically. It's not clear what he's even doing. At the same time, the Granite City is under siege by this Night Beast army that I guess just showed up. It may seem like I'm jumping around, but these things are not very well explained or set up in a way that makes it feel natural. So when I say oh, it's just under siege, yes, at the end of this book, the siege begins, basically. It's sort of a Helm's Deep type situation. Basically, King Holbein's holding out with his people. They're under siege. So Thane comes out. His grandfather gets treated and is alive. And then he basically takes a shellacking from everyone, being like, thanks for saving this really great hero guy. But you had the opportunity to kill the evil master lord and you didn't take it. And you lost, he now has a target in this lady you love. So you need to make this right, basically. After this, his grandfather recovers. They all sort of have this war council. As Thane's sort of going to attend this, he, I think, is stopped by Nevian, who just sort of shows up. He's a very ephemeral, so he's a mystical magic figure. He's Gandalf, but he's more I don't know. He's like Gandalf and God at the same time. He's the plot driver of okay, Thane, you need to do this thing now, so go do it. So he instructs Thane, go find your woman, make sure she's safe. You need to stop the nightmare. That's how Cruel Shards is often described as, the nightmare. So Thane runs off to do that. And this is where nothing kind of happens for, I don't know, 150 pages maybe. I mean, things happen, but it's a lot of Thane moving from place to place, fighting night beasts, and being sorry for himself, basically, that he let the Dark Lord discover his weakness in this lady. And we're also cutting between Cruel Shards, who's on a cartoon villain type of spree to get this girl. Okay, I need to focus here, because some things happen that are so crazy in terms of the tonal shift that happens. So one of the things, Cruel Shards comes to this tower where the best archers live, and the master archer, his name is Archer Orm. He's one of the last people there, hanging out. I don't remember why he didn't go to the final battle, but it's whatever. Cruel Shard shows up, breaks down the door of this place. They have a fight. It ends with Cruel Shards. He pulls his eyeballs out and then cuts his hands off so he can't shoot his bow anymore. And then basically just leaves him to die. And it's whoa, that was crazy. Night Beasts have been being killed, but it's he stabbed the Night Beast and it died. That type of violence, right? He slices one and catches it in the neck and it falls down dead. It's pretty tame action. As you read, you get descriptions of Cruel Shards. He's like a zombie. He has no skin. He's just muscle and flesh. Or maybe his skin is rotting off. It kind of varies in the description. He dribbles black spittle when he talks. He's a nightmare. I mean, that is a pretty accurate description now that I really think about it. He's a nightmare. He is a monster. But he has this cloak, which is called the Malice. He's like Aku, basically, from Samurai Jack. He has this black shroud around him that can sort of react to his will or his whims and he can control it and have it do things, and he keeps it around him because he's weak in the daylight. If you step on his shadow, he's incapacitated. So he stays in darkness as much as he can. I think he also can't really see in the daylight very well because he lives in the City of Night and it's pitch black in there. This goes for the Night Beasts as well. They are weak in the sunlight because they can't really see very well. They're kind of like the Morlocks from the Time Machine. So he kills this archer guy and then is like, okay, let's go pick up this lady now. I don't remember why he even does that. I think he didn't like this guy. So he kills this archer guy and then he goes to what is the greatest swordsman ever. He lives in like in the middle of the woods basically with like all these flowers and stuff. And he just like trashes this guy's house for seemingly no reason. There's a lot of descriptions of like him breaking windows and breaking potted plants and like tramping over flowers. It's cartoon villain things that you'd see in like a superhero anime. It's like Mojo Jojo type shit. And so Thane's girlfriend, her brother's, her name is Elianbel. Then she has two brothers, Arbel and I don't remember the other guy's name. Cruel Shards makes his way towards the Way House to get Elianbel. So he breaks into the Way House, and there's a description where like someone throws a spear at him, and he catches it and uses it in a fluid motion, uses it to like stab a servant. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I could visualize that happening really well in my head. I was like, well, that was pretty cool. But he captures these two women because he doesn't know which is which. He doesn't know which one's Elianbel because her mom is named Martbell. She's like, I'm Elianbel. It's a I am Spartacus type of thing. So he's like, okay, whatever, I'll take you both. And he reaches into his chest and pulls out from his heart his life thread. No clue what that is. That's never been brought up before or mentioned. And wraps it around their neck. So any harm that comes to him will hurt them. That's what you need to know. And he's like, okay, I have my hostages. Thane is now at my mercy, basically, as long as I have them strung up like this. Let's go to the Grant City. I'll kill the king, and then we'll go back to the City of Night and just wait. During this time, we're cutting between these different storylines. We're cutting between Thane pursuing Cruel Shards on his sort of weird vandalism tour, and the Granite City as it's under siege. And what happened in the Granite City while this was happening? King Holbein's, he's holding out, but like they're basically at like the end. They're in the last sort of ring of the city. They don't have any candles left, which I think is important so that the Night Beasts can't just come in so they can see and stuff. They're running out of food. So he wakes up and it's very quiet. And all the soldiers and the chancellors have escaped the city somehow. And so it's just him. And they're like, well, fuck, we're doomed. There's some hemming hawing, damn the chancellors, that sort of stuff. They find the secret passage in the armory. It's a tunnel that leads out of the city. But it's pitch black down there. King Holbein, afraid of the dark. He has to overcome this fear. They escape, and they also bring all the people, giving them the armor and stuff from the armory. So he has all the city people, the citizens, going through this tunnel to escape. Cruel Shards comes to the Grand City to find this empty. His revenge on King Holbein cannot be fulfilled, so he's angry. And so what does he do? He's like, well, there's one thing I can do. So he takes Martbell and rapes her. Like, just pulls her into his malice, rapes her, and then, like, spits her back out. And she's like, horrified and, like, scarred. And then we move on. So then Cruel Shards like, okay, well, let's go back to the City of Night. I have Elianbel. Thane will come to me. He's the chosen one. I can kill him easily. He won't be an issue. Basically, what we've done, Cruel Shards has left Underfall, gone to the Granite City, raped a lady, and now is walking back. That is, like, the extent of the plot progression that has happened. Thane is in hot pursuit. He catches up with Elianbel's brothers, and they're like, hey, Cruel Shards took our sister and our mom. We need to go get him back. So he's like, okay, I'm after him. Basically doing the same thing he was doing before. So he makes his way towards the Granite City. As he does, he gets surrounded by Night Beasts. They pass him by. Elianbel's brother basically serves as a distraction for Thane to sneak by into the Granite City. They capture him or kill him. It's not really made clear. Probably capture him because there's a third book. In there, he meets with Nevian again, who says, hey, follow the swans. They'll help you follow the nightmare. So it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to do that. So then he sets off to do that, basically. Not a lot happens. The king is underneath the city in the darkness. He's overcome his fear. They're traveling with the citizens in pursuit of the chancellors and his rebel army, basically. The army from Underfall arrives at the Granite City and is basically told, hey, kill all the night beasts in Elundium. You're going to fan out, sweep it clean. So that's what they're doing. Kjot, the archer, son of Archer, is basically tasked with going to Clatterford, which is a place that makes these special arrows that have like glass arrow tips that capture sunlight in them. And what's special about that is he can shoot them at cruel shards, and it will basically release this burst of sunlight or light, and it will really hurt the nightmare, and it can pierce his malice. That's another thing, is his malice is basically impenetrable to like normal weapons. Why? No clue. It just is. So Kjot's on this journey, and this is sort of where it starts to like pick up again in terms of interesting things happening. He goes on this really pretty fun journey to Clatterford. He gets there, he meets a lady who's the daughter of Clatterford. Clatterford is this place on the cover that's made of glass. It's actually probably the coolest place in the book. So he's there. He has his own trials and tribulations to overcome, his own fears and stuff, because he's partially pursuing the nightmare for revenge, but also to take over for his father. Thane is also in pursuit. He gets waylaid, basically. And cruel shards goes across this lake, which freezes behind him. And Thane can't pass because the ice is too thin for him to walk across, and he'll drown. Thane is sort of in despair. His clothes are in tatters. He's pursuing these he's hanging out with these swans who are like, hey, just hang out. You have to wait till the ice melts and then we can go across. So he's hanging out. The Swan King's queen, basically, figures out where Cruel Shards is going. He gets injured in the process. Thane heals her, and as a result, like, kind of almost dies because he has to, like, cut his wrist to give blood for the swan to heal it. It's drama. So Thane's very weak and worn out, and he basically ends up, like, trapped in this swamp mud area on a bed of reeds that he like wove really quick somehow. Him and his horse are basically stuck in the middle of this like mud field, and they're kind of sinking. Just in time, Kjot arrives with his new girlfriend, who is the daughter of Clatterford, and they save him, and they bring him back to Clatterford to rest up and heal. And they all go back to Underfall, basically, is the long and short of it. There's other things happening too. One of the main things is Thoron, Thane's grandfather, goes on a quest to forge a new sword that can pierce the nightmare's malice, and he carries it back to Underfall, basically. He has a battle owl with him. He's like, hey, you're going to need to fly to Thane once he calls for you, or something like that. Cruel Shards is in the City of Night. So, remember back when Cruel Shards raped Mark Bell in the Granite City? Well, he got her pregnant, and now there's like a demon baby growing in this woman, and by the time they get back to the City of Night, she is like about to give birth. I don't know how long this takes, it just sort of happens. So she gives birth to this nightmare spawn. Alien Bells tries to kill it, but is stopped. So Cruel Shards has a son, and he's going to be the one to inherit the nightmare's power, basically. Hint, hint, this is the evil guy of the third book. It like tears out of her, basically. It's another one of those like whiplash, highly violent, highly graphic moments in this book that's like, whoa, where did this come from? That was nothing like the first book. Anyways, Cruel Shards has this baby who is a little monster. He's waiting in the City of Night, and he basically tells his captain, the like sort of nemesis of Thane, hey, if I don't make it, you need to take this baby because he's the future of darkness. Whatever. Thane breaks into the City of Night. He has Kjot and Clatterford's daughter, whose name I cannot remember. They have their arrows. This is the final showdown. All Thane has is his dagger because he had to give his grandfather's sword back. So he has this dagger. He's had this dagger this whole time. He's like, well, I'll try and make it work, I guess. Cruel Shards is taunting him, but then there's like a noise from above and sunlight streams in as the roof collapses, and look who it is, it's Willow. He's found a hole to open into Cruel Shards' chamber. He drops the sword in. All the horses, all the battle owls, all the dogs come in. They fight this big battle, and it culminates with Thane stabbing Cruel Shards through the heart with this new sword, pins Cruel Shards to this column, and then cuts his head off and like tosses it up. And it's like, again, another highly graphic scene of like intense violence, but it's the big bad guy being killed, so sure, whatever. So after he stabs Cool Shards to the pillar, Cool Shards basically tries to strangle him, but he can't really do anything. So after Thing cuts his head off, he stands up and he like chops off the fingers that are still around his neck, and it's pretty cool. There's cool things in this book, but there's so much nothing, and that's basically the end. Is we did it, we beat the bad guy, but then Ellie and Belle knows about the demon child, so she's like, oh no, this is just the beginning, and it's like, okay, it's the beginning to something I'll never figure out. It was not good. I won't say it's a waste of time, but it's a lot of filler. It's a lot of tonally inconsistent nothing. There's some good moments, especially the last or third is where it really picks back up again, and it gets like a good adventure. It feels like that last third is the end of the first book. That was kind of smushed off into its own thing. Loremasters of Elundium. There's a reason why it was $2 at a Goodwill. Both of these books were $2. Give it to, I don't know, a younger kid. But if you're an adult and you're looking for fantasy, some pretty generic fantasy, maybe read the first one, skip the second one. Third one, I don't know. I'm not going to read it. I don't care. I think that should be your review. To give this one a number rating, it's maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10. And that's only because the beginning is strong and the end is strong. The middle is, there's a big old turd in there, and you gotta munch through it. That's my review of these 2 books. I hope you liked it. I don't think I'm going to be reading anything else by Mike Jeffries. I also don't know if he's ever written anything else. I'll probably do a review of my next book that I read. I think it's going to be Roger Zelazny. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.